What's going on, guys? My name is Rango Lee.
And this is Mylin. Hello, everyone.
And welcome to the Blessed Boater Show. That's right. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about our days growing up in the Seattle low-income housing projects, the struggles, the pain, the suffering, the stories untold and told today.
Aww.
And you're also going to get how we climbed out of that poverty hole, into better places. Today, we got two very special guests in the house. They grew up in the Seattle Housing Project with me. They was kind of like my welcome committee when I first got to the housing project. Thank you. They've been with me every step of the way through life, have my backs when I was in really tight circumstances. And we'll talk about those tight circumstances today. And just overall, really, really great people. The brother and sister duo, Amir T and Angel. What's going on?
Well, welcome and thank you so much for being on Blessed Boaters. I'm super excited to get to know you guys.
Thanks for inviting us to be on Blessed Boaters.
Yes, thank you so much.
I love the name.
And Blessed Boaters is for everybody, not just like Vietnamese people, but just if you bless, you're grateful for where you're at today and how you got here, then you're a blessed boater.
I think when I saw it, I kind of took the definition as that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Because I remember growing up, it was a little bit more derogatory to say boater.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we spend it,
now, that's really cool. Actually,
cool.
There's a
Boater.
Hey. There's a movie or something.
No, there is.
Fresh off the boat.
Yeah. And
No. That Fresh Off the Boat, I think is like
That's
a
a
comedy.
show.
It's just a show, a fun show, but
fun show,
it's great. It was
But
a
I like
really
how
funny
they
show.
streamlined and made it okay and made it like a good
A
culture
good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Super funny.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it was kind of a derogatory thing in the past, but now I feel like I carry it with a badge of honor because we got chips on our shoulders because we came from we all came from rags.
Right.
I don't want to say like we're in riches now, but riches is a state of mind, and we're all like grateful for where we're at now. So
I feel the same way about when we lived in low income housing. It was like back then it was a little bit harder to talk about it because you were in that situation, right? So it's like once you've stepped away from that situation, it's easier to look back and
Well, reflect on everything it's really taught you about just life in general, like the lessons we learned when we were young, just how to be take this really great suffering and make it not suffering, but find joy in so many different things we did, but also having to have situations come up, which there was a few.
But you know what though? I did read. You remember that book that you told me to read? Was it Embraced by the Light?
Embraced by the Light.
Well, there was a sentence in there, and I was like, you know what? I say this all the time, and it's in this book, and it says, "You don't know what happiness is. You don't know if you're blessed until you've already suffered."
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't, or you have to have suffered sadness or struggles before you know what happiness is, before you know what triumphs are. You know what I mean? It's just you have to experience those things to understand how blessed you are today.
Right. I think God gives us those experiences, right? And that's how we're built. I feel like some people might just live the same day, go to school,
Yeah.
But everybody has their own story, but it's your experiences that make that story, and
Well, my dad always said, you will never know what sugar would taste like if you never tasted salt.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh my gosh,
True
that's some
indeed.
good
And your dad was a great man. Is a great man.
Is a great
met
man,
him
yeah.
so many times.
Yeah.
So let's get into the story, right? So today we're gonna be talking about the hood, the Cedarville, right? The Cedar villains here in the house, right?
Hey, there's some Rainer Vistas in here,
Rainer
okay?
Vista.
we lived in most neighborhoods, so we're going to go ahead and claim
We'll claim you.
Mount Baker, Holly Park, and High Point.
And Jackson Park.
And South Seattle, Mount Baker, obviously.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
we'll claim all those
We
neighborhoods.
got them
All
all.
the hoods.
Yeah,
all the hoods.
We
right,
got
right.
all the hoods, yeah.
And if we didn't live there, the people from those neighborhoods came to our house
Somehow.
and lived in our house.
Yeah.
I can't wait. We're about to get into it. So let's start off with this. Before you guys got to the hood, tell us a little bit about where you were born and then those circumstances, and so the audience kind of know some background.
Absolutely. Right? So we were born in Iran during kind of what we considered this Great Revolution, where it was very westernized, and so the Khomeini regime was taking over, which was a very religious regime, and we were kind of pulling away from being westernized to more of an Iranian Muslim religion kind of country, which is still happening to this day. It's that that regime of having to cover your head, being a Muslim, all that still going on. But back when my parents were young, it was actually, very westernized.
Really?
So
Wow.
yeah, it was.
The Shah was
the ruler.
The ruler
And so
before.
being born into a revolution, we also had to deal with being born into this war between Iran and Iraq, which was pretty scary. But I always tell people it wasn't that scary for me because I was kind of born into war.
It was scary for me seeing missiles and bombs and buildings blowing up.
So what year was that?
79 is when the war
79 when the war started.
The year I was born, it was
Yeah, and I was born a couple years. I was just a little kid, and then so my dad actually ended up being in the military, and he did believe in the Khomeini regime as many did in Iran, but he then found out the reality once the revolution happened and Khomeini took over. Things kind of got strict. They didn't want to hear people's opinions, got super religious, and then the Iran-Iraq war, which people were forced to really fight in it at that point. And my dad was kind of the head guy in the military, and so we lived on the base in Tehran, which was crazy because during the time there was a war going on. So, we were the target because we lived on a military base. So we'd have to there'd be times we hear sirens just on a normal basis and have to evacuate the building because it was an apartment building and have to go outside and put a rug out there and lay out there. And we'd see rockets going over our head, bombs, just, yeah. And so my dad kind of saw that also that my brother being we have an older brother, his name's Farhad. And by the time you're 12, 13, they try to pull you into the military.
So at this point, the old regime lost out to the new regime, which is super religious, super fanatical. And during that time, was there a war going on internally, a civil war with okay?
Oh no, there was a revolution.
Okay.
There was a civil war. My dad and them actually were a part of that. So they overthrew pretty much the Shah.
That's why we're here today, because of the war in Vietnam, right? You guys are here because of the war between Iran and Iraq.
Right.
And, who wants to live through those days, right? So it was bad. Your dad didn't like it. And then what happened after that? When was it where you guys were like, we got to go?
So my dad kind of had planned this whole thing and really didn't tell my mom about the whole thing. So my dad said one day, hey, we're going to go on a camping trip. It was me and my older brother, and I was all hyped because I'm a girl. And I'm like, my dad wants to hang out with me. I thought he was the coolest thing, and I never got to hang out with him. Aww. And to be a girl in Iran and in this Muslim regime, you didn't get to do fun things like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm going camping with my dad. Aww. So we all get to my aunt's house, and my brothers and my mom were there, and they thought we were going camping too.
Yeah, I thought she was going camping.
They thought we were going camping, and we waved goodbye.
Little I know, my sister was about to be gone
we weren't going to see him for
5
5 years.
So
we didn't see each other.
Yeah,
I didn't see him. Yeah, we didn't see him. We got separated for 5 years.
How did you get separated again?
So my dad said we're going on a camping trip. Like I said,
Okay.
This was probably the longest camping trip ever. But we actually ended up going and picking up another family.
You and your dad.
My dad and my brother Farhad, the older one, and
I got left behind with my little brother Aziz.
Also, there's
obviously
4 siblings.
Yeah.
So you, your dad, and your older brother left to go pick up another family.
Yeah, to go camping.
And Amir and your younger brother Aziz and your mom stayed back.
At my aunt's house. I remember waving goodbye, and we got on this bus, and we in the back, and we waved, and little did I know that I wasn't going to see my mom for 5 years until we got to the United States.
Oh,
when you realized that you weren't going camping,
yeah.
did you cry?
No.
How did you feel?
No. It's interesting because my dad was just this man of he was like this Olympic guy.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
I cried. I was upset.
I'm sorry.
I cried. I think I cried right when they were driving away in the bus.
I see that image and I want to cry
He
too.
want to go camping too.
Yeah.
He
He wanted to go camping.
No,
he had his fishing pole ready.
You know when you just have a bad feeling?
Aww.
I think at that time
I didn't know.
I just had a bad feeling. I knew there was something wrong for sure.
So it's funny because we're called blessed boaters because we left on a boat. You guys are blessed bussers.
No. Actually, no.
Okay, so blessed donkeys.
Blessed donkeys.
On donkeys.
No.
Okay, so you guys
could tell you more.
Hold on, let her speak.
Left on the bus and then what?
Yeah, so we went and picked up this other family, and then I kind of knew it was getting weird because we did end up in the mountains. So the way my dad had planned to escape was through the Kurdish mountains, and Kurdistan is right in the middle of Iran and Iraq. So they're kind of they're independent and they're in the middle. But that's another thing that Iran and Iraq are fighting to take over this land and take away the independence of Kurdistan. again, that's why I tell you that being born into war, you just kind of normalize these things. Like, okay, there is a whole war going on, but I can still go camping in it, right? So I remember my dad picking up this other family who had 2 daughters, and then we met up with some people who had guns, and they were definitely like Kurdish mountain like type soldiers, and I never felt a threat. Let's just put it that way. But then it got kind of weird because 2 weeks later I was like, wait, Dad, we're walking, and like we went and picked up some horses, some mules, because we had to climb up a lot of rocky mountains. So they had to get certain kind of mules that could actually climb up the mountains. And so when I want to describe Kurdistan, it's very beautiful land, but very poor. Houses are made out of clay at that point. Like there's no plumbing. I was 6.
So you remember a lot.
You remember a lot.
Yeah, I do.
And how come
vivid?
Sorry, how come your parents didn't go together?
Because Amir and Aziz were too young, and the threat of having to cross the border at night and not being able to quiet a 2-year-old down and saying, hey, we're about to get shot. Can you not cry?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's good
So it was a sensible reason, but also my dad didn't tell my mom.
And my mom was a little bit resistant to the idea of leaving our whole family behind there and going to somewhere we've never been, a language we don't speak. Like, you know.
I'm sure it was such a hard decision.
But you do know that even in Vietnam, a lot of big families do separate because the chances of them traveling together and dying all at once, and that if they were to split up, they have more chances of living. And so at least the whole family didn't go down.
That was like our family. My dad went first, and then my mom and us stayed back. And so.
And your older sister too, right? It took her a while to come here. After that, we were just kind of going from village to village. And when I say village, I mean like tents and like houses made out of clay, and basically just living off of like hard-boiled eggs and like yogurt and like
berries.
And then my dad would leave us for a while with the soldiers, me and my brother Farhad and the other family, and they go like navigate and see what's in front of us. So they like go do the, you know.
And you're trying to get to Turkey?
No, we were trying to get to Turkey to just eventually get to another country, but Turkey would have been our get out, right? We could have got more rights. We could have then, you know,
built something and made some yourself and get out of that. Man, that's so
where did
crazy.
you get to then?
Actually, we ended up in this village, and in this village, I just remember this is after 6 months of traveling, and a lot of weird stuff happening along the way too. Like
weird stuff, like
meaning
what?
like.
That
like
was
the lights.
not planned. Weird stuff happening.
Oh man.
Okay.
Well, I'll just tell you guys one story of how.
We'll leave that in there.
That was weird. That was definitely weird. Okay, go ahead.
Perfect timing.
There was like this one day, like this is how we were trying to normalize things. My dad was like, we're going to go to a bazaar, which was like a bunch of tables in the middle of a desert, like set up with like toothbrushes. We're going to go to the bazaar, which is like just shopping, and go pick up some toothbrushes. And I was like, yeah, you know, because I've always been like, still like to go to my shopping. Like, let's go shopping, Dad. So then we end up down there, and it was actually Kurdish Independence Day. So the Kurdish people were celebrating their whole independence, like shooting guns in the air, celebrating, being happy, eating. And so Iraq, knowing this, decided they were going to bomb Kurdistan because they wanted to make sure they knew they were not going to have their independence for long, like a scare tactic. All of a sudden, all I hear is like something hitting, and then my brother running in one direction, my dad running in another direction. And as a 6-year-old, I see a hole in the ground, which is usually where people used to go to the bathroom. And I see a man and a mule standing in there. So I guess a man and a mule I was like, oh, this is safe. Because, you know, as a kid, you think, I'm going to go in this hole and I'm going to just hide. And nothing's going to hit me if I hide. Seconds later, I hear my dad go, Fereshte, which is my Iranian name, and then grabs my arm with somebody else. And we run, and bam, and the man and the mule are...
Oh my gosh.
Exploded.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's just to kind of tell you what I meant by like the reality of there being an actual war and us knowing this fact, and the next day having to see.
Experiencing it.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like when you guys were gone, I remember at one point in time, because we used to get air raids and bombed on every day, my mom got to the point where, you know, they would tell you to leave your apartment, right, and go hide in the basement. I remember at one point my mom just, every time they told my mom, hey, there's about to be a bombing, you'd hear the sirens, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. And they would tell you, hey, you have to turn off all the lights, because what they would do is look for lights when the bombing planes would go over. They're looking for lights to hit the targets, right? So everybody was forced to turn off all the lights. You can't even light a candle or anything. You're like literally told to turn off every light. And it got to the point where where my mom was just like over it. She's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit here with my 2 kids.
I'm telling you, the energy is here. The energy is definitely here. We are going back in time.
Yeah, we are.
Into history, and it's live.
No, just to let you know how normalized war was to
Yeah.
us.
Turn off the lights. We're gonna be a target.
For sure.
Right. No, but war, like how she was saying, war. When you're living through something like coronavirus, we're all living through it right now. It's normalized to us, right? But you told us 2 years ago you're gonna have to wear a mask every day.
Yeah.
You don't get to see your family. You don't get to watch your family.
No
You don't get to go to no cemeteries.
Yeah.
You don't get to do
Funerals,
go to a hospital with your
hospital.
family to make sure they're okay.
Right.
We wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
You can't hug people
Right.
6 feet distance.
So you got to understand that people, when it's normalized, you're living in war. It seems extreme when you tell the story, but at that point in time, seeing a missile fly by or an F-15 shooting or seeing live rounds going off, it was normal to me. And seeing tanks outside just driving around and knowing that at any time, just like she said, I could get hit by a missile.
Yeah.
Right? So
Crazy.
That was insane.
Yeah.
I don't know, bless Busser or bless Donkey or bless Walker or something. Bless for sure.
Yeah.
Bless Voyager.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why you're here today to tell the story.
For sure.
So crazy.
So,
Girl,
yeah.
give me goosebumps.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
we
dodged the
eventually, we dodged that bullet, but eventually, we went to this one camp and we were there with the same family and the soldiers were there. But somehow the word got out that we were escaping and we ended up, getting kind of stopped in our path. And we did end up becoming kind of prisoners of war in Iraq. So we had to live in like what could have been kind of described like a super old, like what you would think would be a school or a gymnasium, like in the middle of nowhere, with little rooms with like windows with bars. And just to kind of throw my dad's part in here, he's still this super charismatic, well-liked person. He always showed so much confidence through all our travels, and he was this like tough guy. I mean, he pulled me out of so many bad situations, and not just me, many other people. And he's very well known and liked. And so he had this way about him, even in prison, like he somehow got all the guards to like him, and to the point where we would go outside, and they eventually allowed us to do aerobics outside every morning, led by my dad.
But I think that was only because at one point that he was trying to convince him the whole time that he wasn't a prisoner, so that he had surrendered himself to them with his kids.
I would say that it was traumatizing. Mind you, there was a point where somebody did escape, and to show us like you can't escape, they brought everyone outside and shot the guy in front of us to say, hey, like the threat is here. But we also had this like I said, I never really felt super traumatized by it. I just felt like my dad was there. I was going to be okay. He even like had like this, it was just interesting. He just started this like Esperanto learning class inside the prison. I mean, so there was like still light in all of this, but you knew you were a prisoner of war, but my dad just kind of was this person who, through his charisma, was able to like make it look for me and my brother not so dangerous. Since we were refugees and we had the status of not wanting to be in Iran anymore because my dad was in the military, the Red Cross actually came in and intervened. And through the help of Red Cross, we were able to get on an airplane.
Shout out to the Red Cross.
Shout out to the Red Cross.
Saving my people in the prison camp.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know they do that.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
either.
They do.
It was through negotiation.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, just take these prisoners, obviously.
No, they're pretty dope that way. And the other family actually ended up picking United States, the family that was with us, and we picked Spain because my aunt lived there. So then, we moved to Spain. We call my mom. My mom finds out we're live. I'm sure that was a very joyous day for her. And then eventually I do go to second grade in Spain, and then I come to the United States. My dad gets his visa to come to the United States because we found a family here to sponsor us, and we get to America.
Yay! And then that's when my dad so he had communication with the Red Cross, and he had let them know that me, my little brother, and my mom were still back there. And at that point, when they left, when my dad went AWOL, they came and, harassed my mom pretty bad. And they kicked us off the military base. So we had to live in an apartment that my uncle had in Tehran. And that's where I saw more, I feel like, of even the war, like the actual planes just going by our building and trying to hit. And there was a lot of anti-air craft firing going on, so you can see everything. You know, you can see.
Man.
I've seen a missile like almost 100 yards away from me, like just fly over me before.
This
like,
is so crazy that it's the normal, and this is what I see on TV. Like I would never.
Yeah, exactly
it.
what you saw on TV. You
What
know,
I
all
just
those
see on
anti-aircraft
TV.
shots that go in the air. I was right next to them.
And you tell people, it's just TV, honey.
Yeah.
You know,
It's just
whatever,
TV,
you
don't
know.
worry.
But no, people are living this right now.
Children.
I was
Young people.
I was a kid. You know,
Yeah.
my little brother at the
sad.
time was 2 years old. I was 4.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, you know, it was, and you can remember, I can remember everything from it, but we're still going through it at the time when they had called us and they were already going to America. So then one day, without nothing, all of a sudden we just heard a knock at the door, and it was a gentleman from the Red Cross.
Wow.
And they told us, we're not allowed to take any personal items.
Yeah.
We're just going to leave. I remember just us locking our apartment.
Yeah.
And then knowing that, hey, we're not going to take none of this. We just got to go. And then that was when we went straight to the airport. They stamped our visas. I mean, we got out of there.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, it was within the same day. They got us. It was just in the middle of the night. We had to leave, like acting like everything was normal, obviously.
Yeah.
And then once we got to the airport, Red Cross got us on the plane. They flew us out to Spain, and that's where my dad had made some friends already, and these guys had already been there prior to us arriving in Spain. So once we got there, we did know a lady named Rosario that my father knew, and she let us stay at her apartment, and we stayed there, I believe, for 9 months, almost a year.
So it took about 5 years total in this time frame for us to be reunited, and so then we got reunited 5 years in. We're in America. High five it.
We were just looking at the picture of us getting to the airport.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I always remember that one outfit I got to leave with, right?
Yeah.
It's just like,
it was a good
people
day.
don't understand, personal items, at that point are not even important, right?
Yeah.
When you're a refugee, when you see people on TV, like kids and refugees walking away, like you see TV, right? The news, and you see people walking, right?
Yeah.
Imagine some of those people are just holding their everything they own. That's their life. That backpack is their life.
Very good. So now you guys are in the U.S. Obviously, your parents don't have money or anything. So now you guys move into the Cedarville low-income housing project.
No, Cedarville wasn't our first neighborhood.
Which neighborhood did you guys move to?
They lived in Greenwood at the time, but then we came to the realization when we arrived that my dad was not financially stable enough to support the family, just like how your family went through the same thing. My dad was living in a house. It was like a duplex, and when we arrived, the finances was obviously very tight for my family. He was a mechanic at the time, just trying to support my older brother and my sister. And once we arrived, my mom and my little brother and me, it became more of a financial burden, I feel like, at that time. And that's when I think they applied for
Seattle housing,
Seattle State Assistance. And that's when we moved to Mount Baker, which is on Rainier and McLennan.
Oh, okay.
And all of our neighbors were Asians. That's why we loved Asians. And
we love
we
our
had
Asians, Cambodians, and Laos,
and then we had
Thai.
a Samoan family that lived there.
Yeah. And then after a while, this was very poor apartments, and it was like two
Run
bedrooms,
down.
run down,
Very
and
run
eventually
down.
they
roaches, rats,
everything.
Oh, wow.
It was
So Cedarville was an upgrade.
Yeah, Cedarville was
believe it or
actually
not.
an upgrade because they had to move everybody out of Mount Baker because at one point in time it was not healthy enough for people to even actually live there. So they
when you say not healthy enough,
because
what do you
it was rats, roaches.
Oh,
it was
okay.
infested by. It was just really infested. It was at that time, but then they moved everybody out of those neighborhoods into other neighborhoods, which we were moved into Cedarville, and a lot of people were chosen for like High Point, Holly Park. We just happened to go to Cedarville.
Yeah.
To us, we're like, wow, well, this is an upgrade.
Destiny.
which wasn't an upgrade, but at that time to us it was because we lived in a lot smaller apartment. I feel like in Mount Baker.
It was 2 bedrooms with
500 square feet.
There was four siblings and my mom and dad.
Yeah, 6 of us living in there, like 400 or 500.
Yeah, we
made it work. Yeah,
we made it work.
We're less than nothing to eat.
How did you guys meet Rango?
We just moved there from Arkansas. We lost everything, and we were about to move into the project, right? But at the time, we were renting this small 2-bedroom house over by Greenwood.
Right.
And after a year,
funny, same story.
Yeah. After a year, they didn't have money to pay the rent.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
same story.
We got housing. And so my mom's like, hey, let's go check out our new place that we're going to live in. We're going to move there in like a couple months, right? So we get to Cedarville, me and my mom, and we get out. We're walking around. And then I look over and I see this guy jump this fence. right? He jumps his
Sounds
fence.
like it.
Sounds like me.
He jumps his fence, and then he jumps back over the fence, same way he got in, and he was carrying these shoes, right? And then he looks at me, and I look at him, and then he runs off with carrying these shoes, right? And I was like, and that was Amir when I didn't know him at the time. I was like, who's this guy?
How old were you guys? 10.
10 years old.
Yeah.
Kids.
And so then I was like, and I looked at it, there was like abandoned cars, and like you could tell it's like different than where I'm living, right? I'm like, Mom, like, can we live somewhere else? I don't want to move here, because I was like, we're downgrading right now. And she's like,
we
no.
were upgrading, you were downgrading.
I feel you.
And so then we moved in reluctantly. And then I remember the first day we moved in, I was like upstairs.
Yeah.
And we're moving their stuff in and out. I'm looking out the window, like checking out the kids in the neighborhood. Then Amir and Edward walked by, the tall white guy.
Yeah.
They walked by. And then
you're in your bedroom.
Yeah, I was in my bedroom. And they were like, I was like, I think Amir said, "Hey, you want to play basketball?"
Yeah.
You new there? I'm like, okay, I'll go play basketball with you. And then we walked to the park behind the house and started playing basketball. And the rest is history.
Love of basketball, huh?
Yeah.
That's why you guys built the relationship there, huh?
Yeah, and then we became really close friends after that. I feel like I knew right off the bat that I was gonna like this guy, and not only that I was gonna like this guy had more family structure than I did, so I knew they had food in their house, and because one thing that we were food deprived at the time. I don't know how to explain because my mom didn't speak English. My father was just working hard, and during that time, you're living off of $200 worth of food stamps, I think, right? At the most. I don't even think it was that. I think it was 200 total and like food stamps and.
Yeah, because at the time
it was a lot less than people live off of now.
Your brother at the house. It was
one of my brothers has passed away at the time. Remember, one of my younger brothers, Azer, he got hit by a car.
What happened? Where was he going?
We had gone to play video games at the
Fun and Games.
Fun and Games.
At Northgate Mall.
Just you two?
Yeah, they were walking.
No, we went with a couple friends.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I was playing video games, and then it's the weirdest story, but I don't want to. It was. I was in the middle of my video game, and I had the weirdest chills come up on me, and I was like, where's my brother? Yeah. And then they were like, oh, he left. I was like, my brother left? So I abandoned my game, which until this day, I still can't understand why as a kid you would abandon a whole game that you were just so, I saved up for.
Worried.
Yeah, so I ran home and I ran past a bunch of ambulances and fire trucks. And then when I got home, it was just, I remember one of my friends, Glenn, he was a neighbor. He was at my house already when I got there. And he was like, your brother just got hit by a car.
No way.
At that time, obviously it was hard to get a hold of people. It wasn't like everybody had a cell phone or anything like that. So finally got in touch with my mom and them. And then I just sat at home. And then they all went to the hospital, came back, and they gave us the tragic story.
So then it was my mom and dad didn't end up working out after that just because grief kind of does this weird thing. So then they separated. And I think right after that whole incident, you guys and then Regina's family moved in at during the same time frame, right?
Which gave us a little bit more of a family structure.
We felt like we had family because, this devastating thing had happened. And then I remember your mom was just such a welcoming person. I remember she would always just have
cook
food. There'd always be food in her house, and we just walk in, and there'd always be like she'd have this round table inside the kitchen, and that's the window that kind of opened up into their house, and you could always see there's like food sitting there, and it was just like she always was like, "Do you want some?" Like she never made us feel like we couldn't have it, and Gina's family is the same. I feel like whenever we went to their house, they were like, "Do you want some?" Like, and that was like such a great feeling for us to have you guys be like family to us.
It's crazy. I've known you guys for so long, like 30 years, like most of my life, and I never really asked you about like Aziz, because it was kind of like a off subject thing. I knew it kind of happened. I think it was about a year after it happened. That's when I moved in. I met you, and you guys are 2 years apart.
Yeah.
And I think about like me and John, who like we grew up together. Like we were twins basically. We were together.
Me and Aziz were together.
Yeah.
Because you gotta remember, we lived in the war, so.
When we left Iran, they were left together.
It was never a point in time like I slept in the same bed with him.
Yeah.
I ate with him. I went to the bathroom with him. If I went to the bathroom, he's coming.
They
with
were
me.
best friends.
Like, so it was really, it was really hard on me at that time. Obviously, I did kid too.
How did you overcome that?
Yeah,
I don't think you could overcome that.
Don't
I think you just learned to live with it.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, when you're in in that mode and you're surviving because as you know how our lifestyle was, it's all about just getting by, and so you don't have time to really like digest what just happened.
Right.
And so,
school became harder for me.
Yeah.
Everything became harder. Like where Rango is, like his story is a little bit different than mine, is because he had Jonathan there, right? And he had
and Richie
and all that. But when that happened to me, I feel like even though me and Rango were good friends, there was still a separation of that friendship and then my friends that weren't as nice or good. So obviously I did go through some problems and went through I got obviously in bad situations.
Poor coping mechanisms.
Yeah, so obviously I did some bad things. I did my first crime. I think I was 10 years old.
Yeah. There was an incident also where Richie, when he was 5 at the time, and he was a housing project kid, and he went to the mall with a bunch of kids, and then he lost them, and then the cop had to bring him back.
Yeah,
right.
I remember
and you're
that.
talking about like 7, 8-year-olds trying to watch a 5-year-old is, that's how he got lost. But I think about like it could have been Richie or someone else, or one of us that. And that's why it's such a tragedy that.
But in every sad story, there's a blessing, right? He was I feel like he was my anchor to like life. Like after that, I had more reason to try to live. Yeah. But during those times, I didn't really know it because I was so young, right? But he was like my angel. He was my guidance to being able to do what I'm doing now, I feel like. And I still use him as my anchor of life, right? Like, so he's my guardian angel, right? So,
so can I ask you something?
No, go ahead.
Because I know some people that's going through tough times and lost their loved ones. And it's really, really hard. I can't even imagine, how to get through it. If that ever happened to me, I don't even know how I can see the light. It's going to be really hard. So for those, people who are going through the same thing, maybe something similar, what advice or what things would you advise them? Because you've experienced it,
Right.
How to get over that hump, how to get over that obstacle, how to deal, because some people don't want to deal it. Some people, I have a friend call me up and she says she doesn't see why she's living. She doesn't want to live. Yeah. And she just want to she's telling me she want to take her life away. Right. So, how do you get over something like that? Because it's really hard.
I mean, when we went to visit my brother the other day and we stand over him and we just think like he didn't get this opportunity, and it would be a devastating thing for us to like not honor him by living a full life and living that American dream that he would have wanted. And we want to do it for him. We want to live on, and like he is the good in us. Like I always tell Amir, we could have gotten into a lot more trouble. And I think just knowing like you have a guardian angel and like you got to stay on the right path and you got to live because somebody else didn't get to live.
Oh, that's a good one. So for those out there, live because someone didn't get to live.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good one that maybe hopefully like help you power through tough times.
Like, I feel his energy every day. Like literally feel, I feel like that's why I always tell people, there's energy, there's God, believe there is a God, and there is, and obviously life is just a blessing. When you wake up in the morning, you're blessed. Yeah. Life is truly a blessing, and I gotta live, you gotta live for your loved ones that did pass away,
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
No.
And I hope that, it's, for me, when I lost my mom last year.
Right. It was tough for all of us, That was like mom to me too. So, and your dad, it was. Yeah. It's been a tough year for us. I can say.
For me, I feel like it's therapeutic also for me to share it and then write stuff about it. And so I hope that you guys can, feel like it's helping in some weird way of like.
Just talking about it makes me happy. It does, even though it makes me sad.
A lot of people are going through it right now.
Yeah, especially with COVID and people passing away. I lost a friend last week to COVID, and then a week before that, I lost another friend, and they both had children.
That's
so it's just
most tragic is when someone.
Yeah, we got to count every blessing that we do have. That's how I feel like when we lived in the projects. It's like I lived in the projects. It might have been hard, but it was a lot easier than getting bombed on every day.
There goes an upgrade.
Or being away from my family, because I felt such an emptiness when my sister and my brother were taken away from me for so long, right? So, and now I have them. I feel like I got to count those blessings, right? And my nieces and nephews that were produced afterwards by my sister and my brothers and all.
So after that, and when I met you guys, it was just you two at home all the time. Your house, it was like the local boys
policy.
and girls club for the community.
We never locked our door.
They never locked the door.
You could just walk
Your
into the
parents
house.
were never home.
Nobody cared.
You guys didn't collect was it a door charge?
No,
Cover
Just
charge. They
kidding.
should have.
Cover
They would have
charge.
made some money.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I think that's where we started a club and started
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's where we got the idea from.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just charge people to hang out with us.
And I remember there was never any food at your house, right? So what we would do, something that's so vivid that I remember about the hood was we went down to Thriftway, like a block away.
Yeah.
And we went dumpster diving.
Dumpster
like
diving.
All
What
the,
dump-
dumpster diving. We go in the
Oh,
dumpster.
dumpster. Okay.
And you get like the
And
vegetables.
The expired
whatever,
food.
Yeah,
like,
got it.
Chocolate
ice
bars.
cream.
Expired soda.
I knew what it was. I just didn't
It's
know it
dumpster
was a
diving.
hood
Dumpster
slang or
diving.
something, that I didn't know about.
Yeah, moldy bread,
But at that point-
cookies.
At that time, we didn't. Honestly, what it was is at that time we didn't. This is very important too. This is what my sister works in this kind of stuff with refugees now. Is this we weren't educated on what resources were there for us. We didn't know there was a food bank. Did you know that? Did you know the day I learned there was a food bank, right? Because at that point, when I learned there was a food bank, that's when Rosie and them had moved to High Point, and I was pretty much living in High Point because they pretty much took care of us too. But I found a food bank,
Oh.
and I went home.
Food bank was a come up.
I told my mom we made it.
We did it finally.
I was like, "There's a place, Mom. They give you free food." I brought a box of food home, right?
so
And then
cute.
Look what I got,
and then
Mom.
I found out that you could volunteer
Yeah.
at the food bank, right? And a lot of people at that time would do it for for probation or something. I didn't have none of that. problem.
Probation. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
like
okay.
you do it. But I was like, man, just sign me up.
I get some cheese.
I knew there was,
No, but you're right. It was kind of like, you guys came over and there was no
my food bank was Rango at that time. In his
Rango.
No,
And-
it was like
yeah.
Rango's mom would like literally feed me all the time, and it
And
helped us get through it a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, it's I never went dumpster diving before, and then I remember that day.
Yeah.
he's just like, "Hey, you hungry, right? All right, let's go down the
Why
street."
me?
So I went with you. I think we
the
went
head
with
of
like
That was Troy's idea.
Troy. And we went in there, like got soda, we got like bread,
Chocolates,
cookies,
everything.
Like, it wasn't like I was embarrassed about it because I was doing it with the homies, right?
Yeah.
So we're all like, "Wow, look at all this stuff." So
It was
we were,
important.
like,
I'll tell you the truth though. The things we were doing in the projects might have been we didn't tell the same stories outside the projects. It was
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
we kept it
Yeah.
a tight knit
Inside.
community.
But I feel like everybody came inside the project, so they saw it firsthand anyway. Because it's not
We
like
didn't invite everybody.
Mind you, we had like this little apartment, like this little house that was like attached to different townhouses, and like Rango said, it was like this open door policy, and like mind you, this open door policy became like this really fun place in some way where
wow.
all the boys would come over and
fun
play.
and dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Well, I want to say
I'll tell you some of the
I want
dangerous
to
stories.
say the fun part.
Let's say fun part.
Like to the point where like Rango and them would come over, and every day we'd have like card games.
Aw.
Boys and Girls Club.
There was that essence of like we are children, and like Rango said, our mom wasn't home, so it was all about finding family in other places. For me, for sure. That's why I got really close. And
My mom was home. She was just going through a tragedy. I feel
Yeah.
like at the time
Yeah,
my brother
that's
had passed
hard.
away, so she would just cry every day.
Yeah,
but then
that's
she was
hard.
also gone.
It seems like whatever situation it may be, you guys were forced to become independent, forced to
Yeah.
make it work, and then you found family, Ringo. Like they
Yep.
found you and your family, and things come together for certain reasons.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Cedarville was there was so many different nationalities there, different families, and even though we was all struggling, but we all had each other's back. At the end of the day, like we cared for each other. Like any small kids were around the neighborhood, someone would take care of them, make sure they're not leaving the neighborhood, or someone's hungry.
Yeah.
Someone's always like, "Hey, I got something for you." And I think there was only those that went through that time at Cedarville with us that brings our bond so tight these days, right? And some of us are still friends on social media and Facebook, and we're all like cheering each other on and seeing everybody have kids and have families and move out of the hood. It's a special thing.
It is. So when I see you guys have this much of a bond, and it's just so much love, this is something I never had. Remember, I was also raised in the hood. Rainier Vistas, okay?
Rainier
We were there. We're on that street.
Rainier
You guys know
Vista.
Rainier Vistas.
Rainier
okay?
Vista low income housing project.
Yes, we love
And
it.
I didn't see much of my parents. They're hustling, going to working 3 jobs. I only saw a babysitter.
Yeah.
So I was very lonely with three other siblings. And I just remember just being very lonely. I mean, I don't know if that's the reason why it was very hard for me to trust people or have people come or be very close to me, because I knew the situation I was in and I was just forced to be that older sister. I make it look really easy, and actually in life I make everything look really easy, but internally I hold so much inside and hold so much on my shoulder. And so when I see bonds like this is amazing, you guys. This is like things that not everyone has. And so you guys keeping it like this is like,
there was other people in our neighborhood
amazing.
that lived just like you too. I feel like we still knew they were there, like we, you know, obviously, but it wasn't an open door policy, I guess, at their house.
Was it?
Their parents didn't let them come outside because they knew like
we were
all the influences. And, like,
there was a lot of bad, you know, living in housing, obviously, there's a lot of bad influences.
There's
a threat.
We weren't allowed to open the doors.
Yeah, it's a legit threat. It makes a lot of sense. You know, we were outside doing a lot of bad things, so it was probably good.
I knew guys like you.
You
guys wasn't allowed to be around them.
It was probably a good idea for you to stay inside and close the doors at that time.
One of the difficult times when I was living there, I remember it was just like, I was embarrassed about the hood. When you're living in the hood, you're like, these guys are going through it with me, so I'm not embarrassed, right? Because we're all going through this struggle. But then I remember some of my white friends would drop me off. You know, went to middle school, Whitman Middle School, and that was like a white school with like richer kids. They would drop me off in the hood, and I wouldn't tell them like where to drop me off at. I would like drop me off across the street or down the street at the mall. I was embarrassed to let them know I live in the housing project. And I remember another time I went to the grocery store with my mom and dad. I remember it was time to pay, and back then they had like food stamps. You had it was like real Monopoly, right?
The brown $1 bill, the brown $1 bill, the green $5.
Right, it smelled kind of like food stamps. But I remember my mom, we went to the register. I knew my dad was also embarrassed of it too, so it was time to pay, and he would go first to the car.
Aww.
And then it would be me and my mom there, and she would like open up the food stamps and pay them, and like there's people in line, and all these people know that like we're paying with food stamps. And then I was like, oh man, like I feel as a kid I'm embarrassed, but I can't leave my mom because I got help with groceries. And I just remember those times in Cedarville where it was good, but it was bad. Right. But I definitely don't regret those moments because it made us who we are today.
I definitely I embrace those moments. You know, those they define us. Those experiences define who we are. That it makes us know when I pull out a real dollar bill, I know the value of that dollar. And so do you, and so does Angel, and so do, we all know that value, because when you live through something so hard, it teaches you, hey, this is what it's like not to have nothing, and this is what it feels like.
But also, like, when you are in a situation like that, when you are deprived as a child, all you want is family. So you seek out people more. You get out of your, comfort zones. And I think that's really helped us in the long run because, for example, we put on this whole production so we could all hang out called Field Day, and like it was you
literally guys put it out yourself?
We did. We have Field Day.
We did. No, it was a Field Day, but
we put it together.
And we put it together where we had a gunny sack race, we had a baseball game, we had a dance at the basketball court.
And we
raised the money
by doing a car wash down the street.
And also your mom.
And we convinced the gas station to let us use their water.
Yeah,
I remember.
To let her have a car wash. So and then your mom would make the egg rolls, and then we go in the corner and sell them.
Lemonade.
So mind you, these little kids who are have nothing, yet we come together and we created this whole production, and we raised the money. We created a car wash. We did a whole selling on the corner cookies and egg rolls and Kool-Aid and put this together and then convince everybody of a timeline you do an actual
this is crazy. Amazing.
13 years old, 14.
How much did you guys make?
I don't remember.
You have to have a field day.
About $200 or something.
Yeah, we
did all right.
What did you guys do with the money?
We bought we bought gifts if you want a contest. A field day.
The gunny sack race.
We would get that. Food for the party.
We had a whole dance on the basketball court.
Oh, that's
where
so
we bought
much fun.
we put chairs out and we sat.
That's why we learned our production skills of putting on events.
That's what I'm trying to tie in. Is at this young age through your struggles and not having to get creative to create these experiences. So what happens? You produce things, and then these things live in you. All three of us have eventually become promoters or like I'm a project manager, program coordinator. I was in marketing and and you guys do real estate, you guys have done the clubs and everything. So those early like having to get out of your comfort zone and do these things really like instill thank God, these like long-term values that ended up leading us to our success. And I think of like Cedarville as this little like village where we kind of had to create family through each other because a lot of our parents did have to go out there and hustle. A lot of our parents did have like hardships. And then so what do? You count on each other. And that's like the thing when I see right now going on, I want to tell people like reach out to each other, be there for each other, because isolation and stuff like that, it leads to like, I couldn't imagine have gone through that experience and growing up and it having been a really good reflection for me now without having to have created community with you guys, created these experiences, like coming to our house, like, and not only that, it made so many people attracted to our neighborhood from every class as we grew up, right?
That energy.
That energy
that
of
love, that energy,
love.
it glows.
But then with that also, we did attract, being that all of us were like people like kind of isolated from our parents in a sense because they had to go and survive, it did also attract some other things.
Gang members.
Members.
We had a lot of
gang members come to our neighborhood.
Crips and Bloods and
really?
folks. They would
come from different everybody, because our family obviously lived in different neighborhoods. So when we lived in Mount Baker, we attracted a certain crowd. I mean, in the Mount Baker, you had the Little Rascals, Seattle Boys, a lot of different BSP, a lot of Asian gangs. Then when we moved to Cedarville, it just what happened.
I don't know.
I heard about that. I heard about that stuff. Even though I lived only inside, but like
a lot of them.
A
lot of them were in your neighborhood too. Yeah,
I always heard about Crips and Bloods, and is like red and blue.
We had a few gang members that lived in our neighborhood, but not that many. We were all just a clique. Like we
had our own clique.
We were called
you guys named yourself
Cedar Villains for fun.
Okay, got it.
It wasn't like an official gang, but we knew like because we're from Cedarville.
It was just like our crew,
and these gangs would come into our neighborhood and they would try to recruit us, right?
Yeah.
But me and Amir, and we were always smart at my brother. We're like, bro, we're not gonna just join one color. You know what I mean? When we got like homies everywhere, and so
I embraced all of them, right? I was like, you're a Crip, cool. You're a Blood, cool. And then the funny part, I was trying to make everybody friends. So you had all these people that had all these problems with each other.
So the danger was real. There was that incident where someone blew up your door.
Yeah.
What happened there? What happened? Why did someone come and blow up your door?
I think you were involved.
I think you were the bottom.
I think it had to do with this guy.
Someone tried to steal my girlfriend.
I don't know.
I think that's what happened.
Are you sure somebody tried to steal your girlfriend?
What? I don't get it.
Rango was sought after by girls.
Girls were chasing him.
Girls liked him.
Was it a girl who blew up the door?
No. It started there, but we went to a house party, and at this house party, it was we're all good friends now. It's I call them like the Beacon crew, Jefferson crew. I don't want to name drop all of them, obviously,
don't,
but during that time, we're at a house party, and I remember being in front of the house, and they found out who I was, and they had decided that they were gonna beat me up, right? They were gonna jump me.
Yeah.
So I remember at that time, one of the guys came up to me and grabbed me by my neck.
Oh, man.
And all my friends, these guys were all in the house in the back having a good old time, having a party. And I remember he grabbed me and then I just like poked him in his eye and then like forcefully got out of it. And then I ran inside the house and then the story was everybody came right out. It was a big fight.
But how did the door blow up? You said the door.
So why don't we let Rango tell that story? Hold on, Rango, please go ahead.
So I was with this girl, and then she was hanging out with some other guys, and then one of the guys were trying to hit on her, and it was my girlfriend. And so I was like, hey, so I found out, and I was like, hey, that ain't cool. So we started beefing and going back and forth. They were my friends before this. They were like another crew. They were calling the Mount Lake Terrace guys, right? From Mount Lake Terrace. And so then we were beefing with them, and one time we jumped one at the mall. They knew where he lived because everyone knew where Amir lived. That was like the Boys and Girls Club of Cedarville, right? So they roll up, and then so there was like 10 of them or something. And then they're like, come down here, Amir, go get that, go get Rango, tell him to come down. We're going to beat him up. And you're like, F you, man, you can go get my homeboy or whatever. So they're like, they're like, all right, you want us to do something? So they went and grabbed like half a stick of dynamite or something.
There's dynamite. How do you get dynamite?
I don't know. I don't know how people get down on that. They had it though, and then they go tape it to his door to try to blow up the door so they can get in and get at him and go get me.
Wow.
And they blew like a huge hole in the door.
Oh my gosh.
And so then you were there. Then what happened?
Yeah, I was there too.
I think our whole family was home.
Yeah.
And
man.
I thought first it's something that might have been like somebody shot through the door, right?
Oh, that's crazy.
So then obviously I looked outside and saw that no, it was actually some kind of dynamite or
But
something.
they still couldn't get in. So then.
And then they actually took the credit for it. So they were like, yeah, we did it.
Oh wow.
I was like, oh,
They're
you
so
did
proud
it.
of it. Oh,
So
my
yeah,
gosh.
at that point I had a lot of friends, and I remember trying to go back to retaliate on them, and God willing that somebody from their crew knew somebody in our crew, and when we were going to retaliate against them, somebody had told them that, hey, these guys are coming. There was like 50 of us, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember the
There
story.
was a lot of us, but
So I remember
our crew was really big
Yeah,
at the time. At least-
sorry about that. It wasn't my
It's
fault.
okay.
It was,
you
they
were,
tried to steal away.
girls liked you, and it got us
You know,
in trouble.
I want to know what kind of door that is, because doors nowadays you can kick it and it'll have
No,
a big
this was
huge
like
hole.
a housing
This
project.
is like
This was a
government
project.
door.
What kind of door that is? I wanna put
Government
it on my house.
door. Government door.
Yeah, the government
those
door.
heavy doors, those thick old.
both.
Man, your dad probably installed that door.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad, the government door.
I remember the incident, and then after that, the cops came or something. They left, and then we're like, meet us at Carkeek Park at midnight tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And
that
then
was
they're
a-
like, all right, we'll meet
Like
you there,
West Side
right?
Stories.
So then we call up everybody, all the BSPs, the SBs, Seattle Boys, BSPs, and there was like 50 of us, right? And we had. Okay,
there might have been more.
We had
I
like,
want to say.
we
There was a
we
lot
had
of
like
us.
serious arsenal. It wasn't
Because
just like
at that time I
knives.
was
It
very,
like,
I was
Stuff like-
social, so I was cool with
social.
everybody.
So we had like shotguns and stuff like
But
that.
how do you guys
so,
get this
So
at
then,
such a young age?
oh,
See, this is what I'm afraid of. Okay, you guys are way back then. You guys are having access to the stuff.
Kids these
Imagine
days,
kids these
they
days.
still have
Yeah,
the
A
same
girl
access.
just shot. Did you guys see in Idaho? The girl just took out her
Yeah.
gun and shot 3 people injured
Yeah,
in
at
a
school,
middle
right?
school. I mean, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. This
Yeah.
is the world that we live in now too. That
I
I'm
mean,
super afraid
we're
of.
friends with gang members, right? And so we show up and we're like, all right, let's go get these guys for blowing up a mirror door,
Oh
right?
my God.
So I remember you were there. You had your Timberland boots on. We're like going to go stop these guys, right?
Wait,
And
I
then
was
we-
going to do
So we get to Carkeek Park, and then they didn't show up.
No, they showed up. One of our friends had called them and gave a heads up to them that we were coming, and we looked dangerous. Because Zach actually told me. He was like, "Hey, we're all there, and one of your boys was one of our boys, and he told us and gave us a heads up that you guys were coming, and there were so many of you, and you guys were ready to have."
Yeah.
And luckily they left. And
They
God,
left. So we got there, nobody was there, but
Yeah.
we was ready to like
Dang,
go war.
Something
like,
would have been crazy.
Yeah,
we would've-
Thank
thank
God it didn't
God.
happen.
God was
Oh
a
my
blessing.
Gosh, thank God. It didn't happen.
and then another thing is, we were in a different time back then. Like it was the culture to be in gangs, and it was the cool thing. It was like the trendy thing to do. And
Yeah,
and on
1990s.
top of it, like
But luckily we had our own crew, so we just kind
Well,
of
back
like.
then is you had it for your protection, right? You got to be
Yeah,
in
I
a crew so
was
that you are
kinda,
so
yeah.
protected.
Yeah.
I see a lot of them create these.
That's what the kids do
these
that
groups,
these days.
So
They
they're
still do
protected.
that.
If you're a loner, people pick on you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you gotta
I felt
protect
like
yourself.
I see from the outside. I wasn't involved, but I do see these things. I'm observe these things. I see like guys doing this, or even girls like creating this little click.
Yeah, it
and
felt
they're
like
always
family.
together.
Yeah,
I
right
was
now,
a loner, so.
even with the programs I do right now for the neighborhoods, we do a lot of giveaways for the neighborhoods.
Yeah,
Me,
good.
Rango
Oh,
have.
that's awesome.
my
We
friend-
should check out the
My
neighborhood.
close friend
Let's-
Marshawn Lynch.
wait.
A lot of celebrities and athletes have
Yeah.
helped us with, and we still go to the neighborhoods and work with the kids, and
But
we still
Let
see
me add
that.
something. So long story short, you guys been through a lot. You guys built a beautiful family, beautiful bond, beautiful memories. What you guys went through gave you guys mad skills in a production. Like I don't see kids nowadays do that. And that's something that I feel like we should teach our kids how to build those skills at a younger age. When we were younger, we didn't have people teach us skills. We had to survive. We had to
Right.
build those skills on our own. And I feel like we're very grateful now to be able to provide for our kids and teach them how to think like that. But they also should have the drive to want to build those skills so that they can have the future that we have, or if not even better.
Right.
Well,
We didn't have
we had to
programming.
hustle.
Yeah.
It was like because we had to. If you wanted stuff, you had to go hustle for it. And our kids, we give them a lot of stuff, so we got to remember, like, you got to earn this stuff. Like, you got to teach them little ways to make money and learn how to make $1 and appreciate $1 than just get stuff handed out to them. But we didn't have a choice. If you wanted like a nice shirt or something, I remember we used to. We called it returning, right? So I don't know where it came from, right? So we were 13, 14, and we had like scrubby clothes. Like, our parents didn't buy us no clothes. Yeah. So we met these dudes from like Oregon or something. They're like, hey, young blood, you guys want to get some nice clothes? This is how you do it, all right? So they taught us a hustle. So me and Amir, a couple of homies, so they said, go to Value Village or Goodwill. Get these.
Are you gonna teach everybody on camera? Don't teach him.
Write this down right now. You want to
do not teach this. I do not. I am not.
He doesn't stand
by. It won't
this.
work these days because this was like 20 years ago. But
no,
go to Value Village.
But in a different way.
Go to Value Village, Goodwill. Go get some slacks for like $1.50. Slacks, right? For $1.50, and then you take out the tag, the Value Village tag. You rip the zipper. You rip the zipper, you take the pants, you rip the zipper, and then you take it to like Macy's, Bon Marché, Nordstrom, JCPenney, and you're like, hey, my mom bought me these slacks for church, and I was wearing them, and I was pulling the zipper, and
they're
it ripped.
defective.
Oh,
So they're defective. I need some new slacks.
Don't they scan?
No, there's no tags on them. So it was just said Dockers at the back or whatever, or Savannah's or something. They're like, okay, we'll go get another pair, a new one, and we'll exchange it for you.
Oh, wow.
Or they'll give us like vouchers, like gift cards for the store. And we did that for like 2-3 years of just returning. And we all had like hella nice slacks on.
Wow.
Really nice. You could do a shirt. And that was a hustle, man.
But no, and not just that. There was a hustle where my brother like made necklaces out of beads.
Wow.
And like they would go and like sell them at school. These like cool, like, what was it like?
We had a bunch of hustles.
There was a bunch of hustles.
See what I mean? Like, you guys are...
We sold candy, whatever.
We sold candy.
You were forced to, like, become the entrepreneur and the person that you are today.
Yeah, for sure.
One other thing, though, I feel like nowadays, there's more programs and educating families that are refugees. That's what obviously my goal is in Angels, is educating them on the programs, right? Because during those times back in the 90s, our programs were really limited, right? For low-income housing. I remember, like, for instance, like Salvation Army would do a Christmas thing, right? Yeah. And that's why I do the event I do. I don't call it a Christmas thing. Obviously, I call it a holiday event now. But I remember standing in a line for 2 hours one time for one of those Christmas giveaways, right? They would give presents. And I remember the present that I got that day, right? Mm-hmm. See, the program,
probably the only present you got.
Yeah, but it was like, I was happy to get anything, but I want to say it was just like, it was nothingness. It was like a encyclopedia or something, right? And that's why I vow till this day, when we do our programs and when we do our giveaways, I'm not going to just give out encyclopedias. We're going to give things that actually kids want and people want, right? But obviously we're just a piece of a program that's going on now. And there's a lot of other programs that my sister works at the Refugee Alliance, and they're able to connect refugees to those programs.
Thank you guys.
Let's talk about that. So we talked about the struggles, the crazy stories. I don't even know how we're still here with all of our fingers and toes. Like bless boulders, bless busters for real, right? Like
some of our friends are not here.
Some of us got deported, and some of us
got killed.
Rest in peace. Some of them,
rest in peace. Yeah.
But so let's talk about how we got out and we broke the chain, like how we started getting out of the poverty cycle, right? So let's talk about that.
I feel like Angel's part was she went to school all the time and was trying to keep the education thing going. Me, I was lacking in school big time. My older brother also was doing good in school at the time, and I feel like that was her stepping stone, working towards getting out of that.
So you finished college? You went to
high
school?
I actually finished high school, and
what high school was that?
I went to Ingram.
Oh,
and then
I dropped out.
So
Ingram Rams.
I made it till 10th
Ingram
grade.
Rams.
Shout out to all the Ingram Rams.
I went to Marshall too. Shout out to Marshall.
I know.
I went to Marshall too. Shout out. Hold on. We gotta give one of these for Marshall.
I got kicked out of. I went to day school and night school at Marshall. Until it just wasn't working anymore.
For those that don't know, Marshall was an alternative school in Seattle where all the kids that got kicked out of regular school would go to Marshall. Or if you're a pregnant girl, you would go to Marshall.
I got kicked out every year starting at Whitman. Remember? My first year, I got expelled in 5th grade.
Oh,
Hey, I thought we were gonna start talking about how we got how the boss.
And you guys just interrupted Angel.
Yeah, I actually a whole nother part of the story was I did end up having like kind of a high school sweetheart, and at 18 I did end up becoming pregnant and had my daughter Layla. And she kind of was this really big influence on me, because when I went to go see someone, they were like, well, this is where you decide where you take your path in life. You know, you have this child and you can stay on food stamps, you can stay in housing, you can take this route, or, you know, you could make better decisions. And this counselor really had this effect on me where,
amazing.
You know, I then decided I need to go to community college. So then I started waitressing part-time and then going to Shoreline Community College and ended up going there for a couple years. A lot of great stuff happened at Shoreline. Can we get a yeah, for Shoreline. Woo! Yeah. You know, we also in Shoreline Community College, a lot of our friends ended up going there as well. And then we did a lot of fun, like parties, throwing events, raising money, going on trips. And this is where I got a taste of the good life. Like we were fundraising money and going like on trips to Hawaii and California. And we were throwing parties at Shoreline, you know, doing this whole like dance party and raising
Shoreline
money.
Community College.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, so for me, it was kind of like I got this taste of like what it could be to get out of, you know, all of this and just keep moving forward. And so then after that, I graduated and ended up going to UW. I went to UW. Okay. Yeah, I transferred to UW. Kwaching and I both ended up leaving and going over to UW, and ended up.
What profession?
I majored in psychology and minored in philosophy. I was gonna go to law school. Ended up getting a job at the Yellow Pages in advertising, and after that got into IT marketing.
Nice.
And now I do. Actually, I'm a program coordinator for the Refugee Women's Alliance.
Yay!
Wow. Giving back.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and like Amir said, what I do is, do career coaching and create pathways for refugees and immigrants and who are accredited back in their home countries and like doctoral, accounting, anything, and they came here to America. And what happens a lot of times is they get off path and they lose their goals because of survival. You know, they need to survive. So we create through Jeff Bezos money. We're able to have a budget to help take down these barriers and allow them to stay in school or go back to school and get those accreditations.
Can you send us that link so we can put it in the description?
Sure,
so we can take a look.
For sure.
Yeah, well, very good. Yeah, that's a good story, Angel. Like rags to riches. So,
yeah,
for real.
Not riches, but you know, we're doing good.
Happiness, right?
Happiness.
Happiness.
It's the joy of doing the work.
It's happiness.
Yeah, money, it doesn't really have a value. Happiness is the actual value, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you have money but no happiness, what is it worth? The value.
I have a lot of rich friends that I call poor because they're rich with money, but poor in happiness.
Yeah,
that's right. And then for Amir, I remember. So back in the days when we were living in the projects, this might sound cocky, but I felt like I was like cool, pretty cool. I had like cool hair and like shirt on, and I pulled some girls and stuff. And Amir was like really dorky. I have to say, Amir was like really nerdy.
Yeah. Everyone, I know girls.
Everyone picked on him.
Nothing.
Like
girls are trouble. And that's good for you.
And I was 4'11" at the time too. I think I was really
got him in trouble.
And then so Amir, that was me and Amir. And then I remember my family moved out. Right, we finally got Section 8. We moved out of the hood. So then at the time, I was away, and then I came back, and then you were starting to promote, and you were throwing these parties and like looking all cool and making a lot of money, and finally like Amir's something now, like special. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
I actually remember making my first money because the first party we threw, we had put a bunch of money into it, and the story about that is 2,000 people showed up to my first event. That's when we knew that I was good at what I did. I was good at promoting. Whoa. But the problem was that event cost a ton of money to put on, and we had just broke even, right?
Whoa.
So then it was kind of discouraging. Like, damn, we did all this work, but we broke even.
Where was it at?
At NAF Studio. Yeah, Judgment Night.
Oh, it's called Judgment Night.
1997 was our biggest event. It was 2,000.
Huge.
It was I think 2,200 people almost showed up, right?
How many people promoted for you though? How many
people?
A
lot. We had a team
like
of
10 of us.
Yeah, we had a lot. We had it was a big crew of us. I mean, we had everybody.
Just hitting up the street with flyers.
This is before Blaze split off. Before Rango decided, hey, I'm going to create my own thing. But So no, so it was really discouraging, a little bit discouraging, and the people that everybody was kind of like, oh man, really? So a few weeks after that, a local nightclub hit me a power plant.
Oh, power plant
And
down on the waterfront.
Yeah, and they
Seattle
said
waterfront.
because they had a Thursday night that was open, and they heard that I did this huge event, and they would like to have me and the DJs, which I was working at that time with like Cuff Father and the L Brothers and
Prime time,
and and we went there, and I remember my first event, the first night I showed up, I had this bucket Honda. The driver's door would not open, right? I remember pulling up to my first event for our companies, right? And I remember seeing the line just stretched down the street. Wow. And, at that time I was just $10, $20, $30. I was counting the amount of money I was going to make, right? And I remember that night we went in the office and we collected the money. Wow. And it was a ton of money. And I was living still in Cedarville at the time. And I went home and I was like, Mom, I got this new thing I'm doing. I'm making a lot of money. We're not going to live here forever, right? And then my mom just like brushed me off, like, because at that time I used to get in trouble all the time, and I'd come home with all these little rich stories all the time.
I remember those times because at the time we were all starting to be about 18, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, there's parties out there, so we would meet up still at Cedarville Housing Project at their apartment number 4.
Five.
Sorry, it'd been that long. Apartment number 5, and we would like go promote. We would there'll be like 3 cars. It was like 15 of us, and then Amir would be like, we're gonna hit up this club tonight. We're gonna pass off flyers, and we're gonna make all this money from the door. And
wow,
and it was fun times for us,
good
man.
Time.
During that
it was
time.
good times.
It was a great time. And then we did that club over in Greenwood. What was that called?
Up and Down.
Up and Down Club.
Wow, I missed out.
And then
Yeah.
and Studio 420.
yeah, we opened up our own club, and then Rango opened up his own club with his brother.
Oh, that's so crazy. I heard about that.
I want to thank you guys. I don't know if I ever thank you, but I want to really thank you guys for getting me into the nightclub promoting scene, because that helped me out a lot from 18 to 25.
You met a lot of your friends and people. I feel like,
everybody.
We made a lot of connections.
And he was really good at it. You had a really good following. I remember coming to the Ritz. I had a really great time. I don't know, people. I didn't see it as. I saw it as a just really great fun.
Seattle
place.
history, really.
Yeah,
Seattle
history for
yeah,
sure.
I heard about it too.
And the Royal Club.
Yeah, I'm speaking about some of that history and upcoming, thing with the UW and stuff like that.
Oh, you're speaking on?
Yeah.
Are you going to be on a documentary with UW?
Yeah, we're going to talk.
And
and also other documents we're going to be doing. So we'll be talking a lot about those kind of things, like
the hip hop scene in Seattle. Yeah.
Wait, you guys are doing some interesting things. So what's coming up?
Yeah. Well, I just recently got selected to do a show with PBS where they're going to do stories from a stage, and they're going to kind of have me share a little bit about our story. And so exciting stuff where we get to actually hopefully, inspire people and tell them the real stories and tell them how, what it means to be a refugee and immigrant. And I remember having this big taboo of not wanting to be a refugee, and now I'm so proud of it because I just see the resilience and the beauty of coming from struggles and making so much out of it. And
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's what makes a novel interesting, and the depth of it, know. Yeah. So with Amir too, you were saying you were gonna be talking.
Yeah, just about Seattle's hip hop history, the overcoming hurdles that is given here in Seattle. Obviously, just kind of explaining the foundation that I worked off of, and we were at the time. I felt like hip hop at that time was more of a different. It was a culture embraced by, I don't know how you would say it, but. Our community was very diverse, and we were b-boys and graffiti artists and DJs and performers, and kind of giving the history of all of that and how we all came together to create these fun events and these fun shows. We would pretty much trying to inspire kids nowadays that they could build off the same thing, passion. It's I didn't have a lot. I didn't have nothing. I had passion
and ideas,
good ideas, right? Yeah. And those passion and a lot of friends.
Yes, a lot of friends.
And networking.
Good friends, networking, and knowing that my friends at that time were important to me, and
people at home don't know Amir. I mean, you're talking about 1990 to 2000 club days. He was like the point guard of the city, like Godfather promoting. You did some of the biggest clubs that ever hit Seattle, like Tia Lou's, and then iMusic, which is down right across the street from Seattle Center.
Obviously,
that was called Polyester.
We used to promote the Premiere together, remember?
We used to promote the Premiere
That's called
nightclub.
Showbox.
Yeah, like we we threw concerts with Snoop Dogg and the Dog Pound.
Yeah, we've had a lot of
Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, we've had tons.
Yeah, so you got out of poverty, the cycle of poverty by education. And then you got out by promoting and
drive.
Entertainment and drive.
Passion.
And
He
then
followed his passion. One followed education. I mean, it's also
and blessings
passion as well.
and
God.
God. Blessings. Always keeping my belief in God really helped me, push me, and still pushes me till this day. Like currently we're in a pandemic right now, coronavirus. I mean, the industry I'm in has been hit so hard. But what the experiences I had and everything I've been through is made me strong enough to be able to survive it, where a lot of people in the industry that I'm in right now are going through really, really, really tough times.
I think you got one of the hottest clubs going on in Seattle right now, hands down. X Stadium.
X Stadium?
Me and my brother.
I'm old enough to go to a club now, so we'll X Stadium.
It's actual lounge. It's not.
It's Friday. Let's go.
It's more of a
Maybe.
Yeah, but to me, it's like
Friday.
it has that good feel. We bring a lot of I bring a lot of production and entertainment because I learned that's what people strive for. You don't go out just to sit somewhere. You want to be entertained, right? Even at a restaurant. Right now we're currently during the pandemic. We're just a restaurant, right? With a lot of entertainment, which works. So
it's called. What was it called?
X Stadium down.
Stadium.
Yeah, it's me and my older brother and my younger brother.
But it's nice though. It's
we should go.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll let us in. We're too old.
Not right now.
Really? all ages. No, it's all ages welcome. During the daytime we do. So we cater to sports.
Yeah.
So it's obviously during football, baseball, and
sporting events.
Any kind of sporting.
It's right
event.
by the stadium.
It's right next to the stadium outside.
What's the address?
325 2nd Avenue South.
And you always got all them sports stars there, like the Mariners guys, the Seahawks guys, basketball players when they come to town.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of the social skills I learned were from when I was young, and it taught me how to get along with these people and just see eye to eye with people that are even higher than me, lower than me. We're all in the same level. To me, people are people, right?
Right.
A lot of my best friends might be super famous, but to me, they're just regular, human beings too, And
then for my family, how we got out of the hood, the projects was, I definitely give a lot of credit to my mom making those decisions to get out and then starting the catering business.
You gotta give credit to yourself too, though.
Yeah.
And your your family.
Yeah, we do.
You are always driven. Like, look at you. You have a successful real estate company, and I feel like we all had our own drives, and we got to take some of the credit ourselves too. Our family sacrificed.
Yes, they did.
Yes, that's
a good word. The sacrifice was because my mom might not be the most successful person in the world, and she might have not given me tons of stuff, but she made a sacrifice. And that sacrifice was giving up everything she knew, her family, her sisters, her mother, and everything she knew back home for a future that she had no idea what she was getting into. And that sacrifice is what built us, me, her, you, all of us, to being able to have drive to become successful, because they didn't have the same opportunity as us. Because by the time they got here, they're the age that we are now. That's like saying right now, I'm going to leave America. I'm going to leave everything behind. Yeah. And I'm moving to God knows where, because there's a vision of hope and,
Yeah.
So, any last wrap-up comments?
Yeah, I actually really kind of want to know, and I'm sure the audience does too, is we've all been, a lot of people have been through tough times. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give Ringo, Angel and Amir? What advice or what suggestions would you give the audience to get out of it? There is... From the impossible to become the possible.
We went through real tough times, right?
Yeah.
But without those tough times, myself, right now, what we're going through, I wouldn't be able to handle these tough times right now if I didn't go through those tougher times in the past, right? So it doesn't just get one day some magic happens and everything just gets super easy because you made it out the hood and now life is just great. And no. Life is life. We all know that. It doesn't matter what your financial status is, right? Mm-hmm.
I think this past year has really tested a lot of people's like comfort zones, and I think out of comfort zones and those, you know, becoming kind of desperate, creates where you have to find joy in different things that maybe you didn't, in that stillness, in that just being present and spending that time with your family. And like, you know, Rango's sister is my best friend, Julie.
Aww.
You know, we've spent so many days, like I reestablished what a sisterhood we have through these hard times, because she's the one who FaceTimes me, even though we couldn't be, you know, we had to socially distance. And I feel like we came through a lot of revelations and realized that, you know, what's really important, you learn that, you know, it's just a season in life, and how you handle it, it just says everything about who you'll eventually evolve to be. And it's hard. It's not easy. When we were going through our hard times, it felt painful. It felt anxious. It was hard. It was dark. But I also have this huge spiritual belief that I think God's just put us through this path, and you know, it's like that phoenix rising. We got to get out of this, and we become better people, and we become more resilient, determined, and we see what's important. What's important is, if everything materialistic, and if our ego had to get out of the way, we find joy in what's real and what's good, and that's the people close to us that really bring that substance. Like me and my brother, you know, we spend a lot of time on the phone now. We take road trips now because we value each other way more than before COVID, because we realize, man, there was a time where we were scared for a minute. Like,
Yeah.
And there's and like you said, we're a good example of how you can make it, right? Where you have an educated person that went to UW, and then you have somebody that didn't go to UW and dropped out, right?
Yeah.
So you can still make it, whether or not you go to a college, a university, or you don't. It's the drive you have. That's what I try to teach the kids today. You know, I know you're going through tough times. I can't give you no huckleberry story. Like, I'm going through tough times.
Yeah.
But the thing is this, you can make it no matter what, where your financial status is, what you're dealing with. I literally walk into the kitchen all the time and like tell the guys in the kitchen, hey, you know, I used to work right there. You know, like, and I still don't even feel like I've made it to that status where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just made it. No.
You definitely have to have the drive. I think the drive is that key. Because drive and hard work, because even if you got all the goods, you got everything, it's all gone. If you don't have that drive to push you through, whether it's mentally, physically, or financially, it's gone.
Yeah, and I was going to touch on, to get out of the hood, I mean, you got to work damn hard. Like, people say, you know, you got to work smart, but nah, you want to get out of the hood, you got to find something you might like doing and go work really hard at that, earn your stripes, save your money, make good decisions, and sacrifice, and then you get out of the hood, you know, and out of poverty. And, you know, and so we're here now, we're doing this, and, you know, that's why now we're able to do this show. You know, we're trying to put out good content, good message.
Yeah.
And
so thank you so much. Thank you, Angel and Amir. Thank you, Ringo. Thank you to the audience. And don't forget to hit that button, subscribe, and like. And thank you for all your support and love. All right, let's voters.
Hey.